You know, over the past week or so, there have been news reports and rumors going around of whether or not TNA Impact Wrestling is being canceled by Destination America. Now, this would be a huge blow to TNA in the long run if the rumor is true. Because they have nowhere else to go unless they go completely online and streaming. Only then could they be able to maybe get the audience they need to view the product. You know, because they wouldn't have to really worry about ratings that much. As much as more along the lines that they'd have to worry about viewership and subscriptions. Now, a lot of people have come out and have said that they are not surprised that this is happening. Schlag Daddy has said it. Deluxe Man has said it. Anybody that talks about wrestling, whether they're a mark or a reporter, have said this. And pretty much all of them say it's due to one reason. And that is the fact that TNA decided to sign with Destination America. A cable channel that, unless you have it as part of your package, which I am happy to say I do have, only that way can you watch TNA Impact Wrestling. Now, what's funny about this is our friends north of the border had to watch it on YouTube for a while, on the TNA Impact Wrestling YouTube channel, but now are eventually going to be getting it on their own cable network real soon. What would be ironic about that is if the rumors of Destination America canceling TNA Impact are true, then we here in the United States would end up having to watch it on the YouTube channel as well. You see, there's one thing I think some fans don't seem to kind of understand. Now, you could come out and you could say TNA was doomed from the get-go with this deal if the rumors are true. But as long as they have a TV outlet in any other part of the world, whether it's Canada, South Korea, Japan, Mexico, the Philippines, India, Europe, United Kingdom, you name it. As long as they have some kind of outlet, they are still going to be running their show, no matter what. And if that means that here in the United States we have to rely on YouTube or any kind of streaming service for Impact, should we still support TNA, then that's what we're going to have to do if the rumors are true. Now, I will agree that Impact or TNA didn't do themselves any favors when they made this deal with Destination America, knowing that the promotion, or not the promotion, but the cable channel doesn't have the viewership or basically the viewership that Spike TV had. It doesn't have the privilege, if you will, or the resource to be seen by every home in the United States. Now, you would think, though, that being with Discovery Communications, that they would decide, what would be a better network? Now, Destination America is the newest one. But there are other ones that they have that have been around for a while. Now, you could say, well, they can't do Discovery Family. Kind of true, yes, in a sense. But there's also Discovery Channel itself. There's their ID network, if you will. Those have been around for quite some time and have more of a wider range when it comes to cable outlets and homes. one of those would have been the more primary choice. And think about it. If you want people to really get behind the Discovery Communications bandwagon, then making a deal with something like Impact Wrestling, which there is a fan base for, and saying, hey, we'll put it on our Discovery channel, our main channel, or even put it on their ID channel, or even the Discovery Side channel, whatever it's called. That, in a sense, they would kind of understand that those would be the better options because they got a wider range. Now, some might defend TNA and say, well, they went with Destination America because it's a newer network, and the fact that they want something, a network, a cable channel, that they, like the channel itself, can grow on. Now, like anybody, I was kind of happy that TNA at least had a home to go to. And I talked about it in a video or so. So did everybody else. But little did we know the exact details of this deal. Now, you see, originally the deal was for 2 years. But what we didn't know was that Destination America, Discovery Communications, or whoever, had an out clause in the contract, basically stating that they could get out of the contract and deal with TNA at any time. And for some of those people that don't know what an out clause is, basically an out clause is something that says, hey, it doesn't matter if you're signed to us, if we have a deal signed for 5, 6, 7 years, if we don't like what we're seeing within a year or two, we can get out sooner. That's basically what it is. It's sort of like a out option in a player's contract. Like if a player in the NFL wants to leave a team after a few years, they can exercise the option to get an out clause and still get paid their money. Now, I don't know if that's the same with Destination America or TNA, I don't know, but there is an out clause. And if I was TNA, I'll tell you this. If I was the business people behind TNA, I would have at least looked at the details of the contract, and if I would have saw the out clause in that agreement, I would have said, no way, Jose, we'll take our chances elsewhere. But obviously they didn't notice that. And if they did, they should have realized that Destination America might exercise that if they didn't do their they didn't live up to their end of the bargain. Now, some people look at it as a two-way blame street. On one end of the street, you can blame Destination America for doing exactly what Spike TV did and not advertising Impact unless it was during Impact. What's funny about this, though, is that Destination America was really behind Impact for a while. They were promoting it even before the show came on. They did a marathon of it. And yet now, they're not living up to their end of the bargain. But yet, on the other end, some people can say that TNA is not living up to their end of the bargain by bringing in the viewership that Destination America thought they would bring in. Well, there's two ways to look at it. Both share the blame. They do. TNA shares it because they haven't been able to produce the viewership, the ratings, even though they are good, that Destination America saw them get with Spike TV at times, and even Fox Sports before that. And Destination America is also to blame because they're not living up to advertising the show, not just on their network, but on all the other Discovery networks. I mean, would it hurt them just for a few times during the week on their main network, Discovery Channel, to say, hey, tune in to Destination America on Wednesday nights. Well, at the time, Friday nights, now Wednesday nights. Like, tune in to Destination America on Wednesday nights and watch TNA Impact Wrestling, the best wrestling program on earth. Would it have hurt them to do that on Discovery Channel? Would that have hurt them to do that on ID? I don't think so. I think it would have helped them. It would have gotten more people to want to pay possibly that certain price for that additional package to get Destination America. Now, a lot of people, because they don't have Destination America, because they don't want to advertise Impact on any other Discovery communication network, a lot of fans have to rely on places like YouTube and Torrents and Daily Motion and Blimp. They have to rely on them just to watch Impact. Now, some might say that Impact has a bit of an advantage. The advantage that Impact has, according to some, is the fact that Destination America puts their shows on demand. So that even if you don't catch it at first, you could catch up with it. So you would think that would satisfy Destination America as well, that the on-demand programming that has Impact Wrestling has that viewership that they need, has that what they're looking for. But obviously it doesn't. Now, a lot of people could say that even though both have to share the blame for the rumors going around of the possibility that Destination America is going to end the relationship sooner than expected with Impact, people also have to look at it this way. They have to look at it this way. Sometimes the blame can go internally. That's right. It's internal. The internalness on both ends can also share in the blame. On the TNA side, people could say, well, one of the main blames that you have to look at is Dixie Carter. Now, here's the thing. As crazy as it sounds, I do respect Dixie Carter for being the first full-fledged president, if not owner, of a national worldwide wrestling promotion. Basically the second-tier promotion in the eyes of some. I give her credit for that. But even though I give her credit and respect her for that, like I'm sure some do, the one thing I can't agree with anybody is that if she doesn't have a clue how to run a wrestling business, even though she owns it, maybe it's time for her to step aside and let somebody that at least has the knowledge of the business, has a passion for the business, and knows that, hey, you need to shake things up to get people's attention. Maybe she needs to let that person take control of the company. Like, okay, maybe she could work on the side, in the background, doing certain things, still kind of keeping a stake in the company as like a primary owner, but allow somebody to take all those responsibilities away, or a majority of them away. Someone that knows how to run a company. Now, some might point to someone like Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins, because he runs his own independent promotion as well. And that might be true. That might be true. But if that's the case, then maybe Dixie needs to start realizing it's time for her to get away from all these responsibilities that have to do with, let's say, getting talent in there, into the company, signing them to contracts and all that, and let someone like, let's say, Billy Corgan, or someone that knows the business, knows how to run it, come in and basically take that responsibility away from her, and maybe, like I said, let her be in the background, sort of have a stake still in the company as a primary owner, but not have to be responsible about doing this or that or anything. Let somebody that knows what they're doing. That's one thing I think Dixie Carter needs to start realizing. She needs to think, okay, I don't really know that much about the business, even though I've been trying to learn about the ins and outs for the past 13 years. Maybe it's time I give it to somebody else. Somebody that has a more vast knowledge of what I need to do, of what needs to be done. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at it. It's the fact she needs to give it to somebody that has a vast knowledge. Even if that someone's a Billy Corgan, at least from what people have said, this guy has some kind of an idea, if not more so than Dixie does, of how to run a promotion in and out, if you know what I mean. Now, that's one thing to look at. The other way of looking at it is you look at the eternal side of Destination America, and here's cable channel, part of Discovery Communications, that's not living up to their word of advertising Impact Wrestling. I mean, yeah, you advertise it after first, when you first obtain the license and the rights to air it, but then after that, it's like, oh well, whatever. You don't give a crap. And, Lord only knows. Lord only knows whether or not Destination America still gives a crap. I mean, look what they've done. They've taken out TNA Impact Wrestling Unlocked, TNA's Greatest Matches, off Saturday mornings. They're moving Impact from Fridays to Wednesdays. So the question is, do they have any idea what they're doing? Do they really give a crap about TNA? And I think eternally somebody took over the reins, we don't know who, took over the reins of advertising and all that doesn't give a crap about wrestling at all. Probably doesn't even know much about the sport, of the business, I should say. And like I said, probably doesn't give a crap about it at all. And basically decided, okay, we're locked in with this deal. At least we got this out clause. There's a possibility we can exercise that out clause possibly by September. But you know what? I'm not going to advertise this wrestling anymore because you know what? I don't think it fits Destination America. It's like they got somebody in there that took the reins of advertising. Kind of like when AOL, Time Warner, and all that came in, took over WCW, and basically said WCW didn't fit their programming needs and felt it was beneath them. It's almost like somebody similar to that took over the reins over Destination America and is doing the same thing. Not canceling the show, but thinking about it. Now, if that's the case, and that's an eternal problem on their side, and that's part of an eternal blame that they have to indicate, or they have to be responsible for, just like TNA has an eternal blame with the president and owner in Dixie Carter. Now, here's what I look at with TNA. As crazy as this sounds, to me, TNA was at its peak and at its best when they were aligned with the NWA. I know some of you might say, well, that's kind of crazy, Brian. They did good when they left, too. Yeah, they did all right even after they departed the NWA. They did. But when they were part of the NWA, it gave them more variety. It did. It gave them more variety of men and women to come in and compete. I think even when they were still part of the NWA, they introduced the Knockouts Championship. So, to me, it's like, if you know you probably had a better deal and better lifespan when you were with the NWA, why not go back with it? I mean, true, I understand they had a falling out because I think the NWA wanted to put the world title on somebody that wasn't contracted to TNA, and that I think TNA wanted it on somebody that was contracted to them. I get that if that's the case, and maybe there were other reasons. But still, I look at this, I look at this and I'm like, you had such a good thing going with the NWA, whether people like the NWA or they don't, that you could easily bring that same, you could easily go back to that. There's an old saying that says, you can always come home, right? You can always go home. You can always come home. And to me, I think TNA needs to reconsider that perhaps realigning with the NWA again is a possible option they need to take. And the reason